I'm going to be doing a draft analysis of the grand finals games at the Arlington Major. I was able to attend this past weekend. It was a great time. We had a great grand finals. And I want to talk about the drafts a little bit. Walk through the picks and bans, do a little bit of an in-depth sort of talk about them. These will go up to my YouTube. So first thing off the bat is that we have a Winter Wyvern ban. Winter Wyvern is been a pretty valued support hero the entire tournament. The save has been really nice. Winter's Curse has been really good against some popular meta picks like Chin, Enchantress, Faceless Void, Juggernaut. 1, it can pierce BKB. 2, it can control summons. 3, it can also be used as a save in big team fight ults like Black Hole and Chronosphere. We saw that in some of the earlier Faceless Void games in the tournament. I think it's either the Team Aster Team Spirit game or the Team Aster OG game where Winter's Curse kind of ruined Monet's Faceless Void a little bit. So they ban it. Okay, so they first ban IO. Team Spirit saw a lot of success with IO. I think it enables a lot of heroes. It enables heroes like Bristleback. It enables heroes like Collapse's Mars. We saw an IO Mars paired with a Bristle, I think, in the Team Aster series that Spirit played right before this. And Mars has not been a very popular hero nor a successful hero, yet Team Spirit was very confident in picking it. And the only time it really looked good was when it was paired with IO. So I think LGD came to the conclusion that IO enables some of the more off-meta picks that Spirit likes to play, so they get rid of it. Next is a Razor ban. Razor's just been a lane dominator, been kind of in the same bucket as Viper, where it's these ranged offlaners you can stick. The difference between Razor and Viper is that Razor scales in a late game really well with his BKB refresher.
Team Spirit.
They banned the Phoenix. This is kind of an unusual ban. I think Phoenix is picked as a sort of counter to some of the meta heroes. It's decent against Chen. It's decent against big tanky things like LG likes to pick, like Faith Beyond's Timbersaw, like Ori's Pudge. The percentage-based healing can be pretty hard to deal with. And aside from summon heroes, there's not a whole lot in the meta that's like super good against Phoenix. Viper can be okay, but Bristle can be pretty good. But then you have the percentage-based healing. So the Phoenix ban reads to me as LGD setting up for one of those heroes, whether that be the Chen or the Timbersaw or something like that. But they don't have first pick. Team Spirit does. And they're going to pick the Tiny. Let's back up a little bit. Okay, so we have the Tiny pick. Tiny has been one of the more dominant mid laners this tournament. We've seen Toronto Tokyo do really well with it. We've seen Stormer do really well with it. The benefit about picking Tiny first is you can flex it to 4, and we've seen it had a bit of success there as well. Toss is just basically broken. It gives magic amp. It is a massive repositioning tool, and it's really abusable. So let's nerf that. LGD picks really quickly. They go Chin Viper. Chin, kind of hero of the tournament. The heal save is really powerful. His laning presence is really powerful. The auras that he builds, because there's so much space, or there's so much farm on the map, Chin is able to farm a mech, a Vlad's, into a, Wraith Pact, or Greaves, or Holy Locket, all those sort of aura, healing, sustain items, as well as offering the global save, been really powerful. Viper, just pain to lane against. The way it was solved in this tournament was by picking Faceless Void, in order to leap away from the... Wait, that's Raisin. The way Viper's been solving this tournament was illusion heroes. Sorry. So when they pick Viper, you'll see them cover their pick by banning heroes like Naga, TB, PL, stuff like that. Team Spirit's going to respond with an Enigma. One of the weaknesses Viper has compared to other offlaners is that he doesn't have a stun, and he doesn't have any wave clear. Hence I was talking about illusion heroes versus the Viper. Eidolons can kind of work the same way if they decide they want to lane the Enigma and try to dodge the lane by putting the matchup against him. The other thing Enigma is super nice is that he can eat some of the lower level Chin creeps. Chins have been going for lower level creeps this tournament, like the Vools, the Harpies, the stuff like that. So even early on, Enigma can consume some of those early Chin creeps.
10 seconds. 5 seconds.
Enigma was seen really powerful towards its DPC as well. Okay. Talk about the bans. So, like I said, they ban these illusion heroes because they lane well into Viper. He doesn't have any sort of wave clear besides his W, which isn't that strong early. They ban the Bristle. A lot of early game tempo if they got the Bristle in their lineup, plus the Chin healing. They ban the Spectre. We didn't see a lot of Spectre this tournament. We saw Ana play a little bit. We've seen it picked against Nature's Prophet and Sniper, mainly. Maybe they thought the Chin Spectre lane would be too strong. I don't really get it, but they're the pros. Enigma's also been picked, kind of like in the Phoenix rule, where you have that percentage-based damage, go against the big beefy guys, but still... you don't want to play against Bristle.
Seconds remaining. PSG.LGD.
They've been the Alk, been one of the main carries of the patch. There's so much, because of the way that you defend your jungle, Alk is pretty reliably able to farm your safe lane jungle. It's a lot better on Dire than it is Radiant, I think, because of the way the map's built right now, but that's fine. They picked the Rubik into the Enigma. I think they also know Rubik is something Team Spirit likes to play. Although I'm not sure if it would fit in their draft this game. But yeah, nothing more to say about that.
10 seconds. 5 seconds remain.
Oh, also Rubik Chin has been a combo that Team Spirit's been playing a lot. And they're replicating in here. They picked the Dazzle. Dazzle's been the bane of many teams' existence this tournament. It's kind of good to pair with a hero like Tiny. There's been a lot of these sort of melee position 4s this tournament. Tiny is one of the ones that die the least, but we've seen heroes like Marcy and Clock go like 0-15 in games. And Dazzle helps kind of prevent the 4 position that runs in from dying as easily, which is nice. And next here, they pick the Phantom Lancer into the Viper. They're saying with a Viper Rubik lane, they don't think is going to be able to pressure out a Phantom Lancer, especially with the Dazzle sitting behind them. Having all those illusions with the Shadow Wave is pretty strong, and they know it's kind of the only illusion hero left in the game since they've banned out the Naga and the Terrorblade. I wanted to note on the Pango ban, I think they were seeing it as also a flex pick. It was kind of one of the only heroes they could pick that would continue to create flexibility between Tiny, Enigma, and Pango to be the roles. I kind of would have liked Pango for LGD because you could put the Viper mid and you could use the Pango to clear Enigma Eidolons or PL Illusions. One of the cool things about Spirit's draft is that they can put PL Dazzle in the off lane to try to dodge whatever lane that they, however LGD decides to lane them. So there's a lot of sort of lane swap potentiality going on in both these drafts, which is cool.
5 seconds.
One of the problems with PL this patch is that he's really slow to get online. He doesn't farm that fast. he takes a lot of items to get online, and so a hero like the Bristle, a hero like the Alk would just outpace the PL. I don't think a Spectre would, but who knows. I guess because Ame's been playing the Spectre. Then he had that one big comeback game. I remember commenting this at the time that they picked PL with Puck still in the pool, and Puck ruins PL games. It is miserable to play against his hero. The coil sucks. It sucks to get coiled. You can't doppel it off. If you doppel it, you break it, I think. And then the silences are super good against PL because you can't doppel. So Puck just kind of denies both of PL's escape mechanisms, that being Doppelganger and that being the sprint that you get from his passive. So at this point, LGD is looking for a carry. Team Spirit's looking for a mid hero. They ban the Monkey. Monkey can itemize okay against PL. It also just out-tempos him. I think Enigma can be okay against Monkey as well as Tiny, because with Enigma his E breaks trees, and Tiny you can toss him around, stun him in trees, stuff like that. But LGD bans the Void Spirit. It's been one of the ways teams have been trying to solve the Puck. It hasn't really worked, but in theory you can Remnant on top of Phase Shift and stuff like that. They banned the Lone Druid, another way to get out-tempoed with how slow PL farms. And LGD bans Marcy. They're thinking that Tiny might go middle, so they wanted to ban a strong 4 position that would lane with the Enigma. Team Spirit ends up picking Tusk. And when this happened, I was sitting here thinking, okay, Tiny's going mid, Tusk is going 4. People have been fine, doing perfectly well playing Tiny against the Puck. And Ame picks the Pudge. At this point, I was really sure LG had won the game. It is really hard as a PL to put enough damage into Pudge to kill him, especially if it's a 1-position Pudge. And it's hard to maneuver around and kite the Pudge when you have a Puck on top of you. I was thinking at this point where they had picked the Tusk, that before they picked the Tusk, that Team Spirit needed to pick Pudge. Because Team Aster, Ori would pick it against the Puck, be able to abuse its high base damage, or to lane, it wouldn't take that much damage from Puck's spells. And they would deny it from Ame here, which would make it a pretty hard carry-to-carry matchup. But they didn't. They picked Tusk and that Tusk actually ended up not being a forward, ended up being a mid, which he did okay. He was actually able to solo kill the Puck, but as later in the game went, he just didn't do enough. And Ame and Puck took over the game. Viper was just able to farm, play his own game. Who cares if he's not right-clicking down the PL all the time? Viper can build a thing like a Gleipnir, which he did, in order to help scale. And PSG.LGD took this one. But that was the only game they took.
Team Spirits
As we head into the crazy game number 2. Probably the best game of the tournament. Have another Wyvern ban, what I talked about before. Team Spirit ends up banning the Tiny. They don't have first pick this game. No, wait. They do have first pick this game. They banned the Tiny. I guess they didn't think it worked out that well enough last game. They want to try something different. I think the Radiant offlane is a bit different when they run it 4 as well. LGD, same bans, Winter and Io. So Team Spirit bans the Chin. They did have first pick. Okay, I just misread. Yeah, so LGD had first pick this game. They didn't want to give him the Tiny. They didn't want to give him the Chin. So they pick up the Razor. All according to how the meta dictates. Team Spirit could answer here with the Faceless Void, but they go for one of the most broken lane combos in this current patch, Viper Marcy. Pretty much unlaneable against. And this gives LGD the opportunity to cover the Razor pick with a Faceless Void ban. but obviously a trade-off that Team Spirit's okay with. They have an idea. This is their first rodeo playing against a Razor this patch. It's LGD's turn with the Dazzle. This Dazzle was super annoying this game. The only thing with this opening, there's no really flex. Razor can technically flex, but he's going in the off lane. Dazzle's going in the safe lane. And LGD bans the puck. I guess there's no flexibility in Spirit's draft either, but their combo is broken. So. Spirit bans the Pango this game. The high mobility is very good against Viper. And it might set up Spirit to pick some zoo heroes, something like that Pango can't swashbuckle through. And the next ban is the Alchemist. They've been banning that all tournament. They don't want to play against it. And there's a Faceless Void ban to cover the Razor pick. And they ban the Rubik, a hero that they know they're super comfortable playing. And they ban the Storm Spirit. The way they see that Team Spirit gets out of the mid lane, obviously Spirit or Pango isn't going to be laning against the Viper or Marcy. But the way Marcy jumps, and then obviously Viper is just a slow, it doesn't have anything. The way Marcy jumps is pretty telegraphed, although it's from a super long range away. So heroes like Pango and Storm Spirit can usually get their abilities off by the time they're jumped by Marcy. Storm has to be level 6, which sucks. But they pick the Bane. It's just one of Mokosha's best heroes. It's nice in lane against Razor, because you can, when Razor links someone, you can sleep them. It gives you time to run away from break the link. It also trades pretty well, which is helpful against Dazzle, who's also a super good trainer. But they're probably not laning against each other, so.
10 seconds.
Okay, LGD, they're on that Illusion hero versus Viper train. And instead of going for the PL, they pick what I think is the better hero this patch, but still not very good, is the Naga Siren. Literally the night before this game, I saw Arteezy, and we talked about Naga Siren, and he said the hero was so bad, you get to about 40 minutes and lose, and LGD was able to get to 60 minutes and lose, so props to them. But their idea is that Naga Illusion's good against Viper, and you have the Dazzle heal bomb with the Illusions, which is a lot of damage. They're going to pair the Tusk 4 with the Razor. That's going to be their off lane. Tusk is able to trade pretty decently with Bane with his E ability. And this is Spirit's answer to Razor in lane. You're able to trade decently with the Tusk. You still have to avoid. Monkey King's really good at pulling the creep wave away and creating distance because his attack range is so long for being a melee hero. And so even if you're never going to trade with this Razor, you're still able to pull it away, separate the lane, try to create some separation. Bane's able to cover you a little bit, and it's just a really defensive lane that they're hoping to give Yatoro a good game on the Monkey King, despite the Razor being against him. They ban the Bat Rider. Super good against Naga. Really easy to run over the Naga Siren with all that magic damage and the slows. It's decent against Dazzle because you can drop the back line. One thing that if they pick Bat, there's a snowball save, which once Tusk has Blink can be reliable, but before then it's pretty hard to pull off. Once again, bans of Void Spirit. LGD is looking for a mid hero. Team Spirit is looking for a offlane hero, which is why you also the Mars ban. A hero that Collapse has been playing all tournament. Debatably a good hero, but LGD knows they like running it, so they get rid of it. Force Collapse to play something else. And Team Spirit's final ban
10 seconds remaining.
is going to be the Zeus and the Instapick Coddle. This is a great ban. It gives vision for Monkey King into the trees. It is good against Viper on the magical burst damage. You have Heavenly Jump to run away from Marcy. You have a stun to cancel Bane ult from a decent long ways away. So this is a great ban, and LGD picks kind of budget Zeus. Instead of escape, you just run at 1,000 miles per hour, and you have insane magic damage with your W and your Q. So I thought this was a great pick by PSG.LGD, and it forces Team Spirit to pick a mid hero that doesn't mind getting bullied by Keeper of the Light blasts.
Fur of the light.
10 seconds. 5 seconds.
And the hero they pick is a Quap. Quap has not been seen that much this tournament. It's probably one of the few heroes that can contest Keeper with runes because you have Blink. I think the problem with Quap in this matchup is once Keeper of the Light starts shoving in the lanes, you can kind of run out of resources to like keep the lane shove up. But I think Toronto Tokyo is super good at this hero, and he made it work. I think like this is the point in the tournament that we see, or in the grand finals, that we see drafts start to devolve heavily from how we were thinking about them throughout the rest of the tournament. The Naga Siren got super bullied in lane, and Ame was still able to become super huge. So I think that kind of boosted their confidence of the hero. It was a super close game. I think both teams, Team Spirit ended up winning it, but I think LGD could have won the game. I think Keeper of the Light kind of fell off. It showed its weakness maybe a little bit. But Dazzle proved to be really strong, Razor proved to be really scary, and LGD maybe got baited by how close this game was. Another thing to mention on Team Spirit's side is that their stock in Queen of Pain went up based off this game. They were able to kite around fights really well. They were able to get a lot of really good sonic waves off the Scream ultimate. And it was able to turn a lot of ganks around. I think what a lot of teams have struggled with, especially with the sort of meta of having like a really farm heavy offlaner and a kind of like semi-core sacrificial carry, is that they find they have a lot of control and they have no damage. And Queen of Pain offered that in spades during this game. Team Spirit thinks about their ban a lot. They ban the Wyvern themselves. There's an insta Viper ban. They don't get Viper Marcied again. Team Spirit ends up banning the Chin and an insta ban on the Razor. So these are close to the bans we've seen all tournament. This being said, it leaves in the IO. LGD has been banning it all tournament. But Team Spirit goes for their original first pick. They first pick the Tiny, another flex between Toronto Tokyo and Mira. And LGD goes for an interesting two heroes. So Death Prophet has been kind of third in favorability after Razor and Viper. It kind of goes Razor, Viper, Death Prophet, Venomancer in terms of ranged offlaner and their viability. So they decided they still want a strong ranged offlaner. And so they decided to second pick it as well as an Earthshaker. Earthshaker grew in a lot of in popularity a lot this tournament, especially thanks to teams like OG and how Seb played it. There would be a sort of shard rush, and you'd play as a super long range lockdown. In terms of it laning with the Death Prophet, if you get a good block off, it allows you to get a really long Spirit Siphon off, which is how Death Prophet kind of bullies people out of lane. That being said, is this the strongest lane in the world? Not really. Are there ways to play around this? Absolutely. And I think this is the weakest opener by LGD in probably maybe the tournament. We'll see how Team Spirit responds. And they insta-pick the Zeus. They're staying with the flex. Zeus, we've seen them run at 5. We've seen them run at mid. Kind of only place it could go. And then Tiny could go mid, Tiny could go 4. So keeping the flex off, and all this burst damage is amazing against Death Prophet. What Death Prophet wants is to get all the time in the world to heal, and Tiny and Zeus don't really allow that. Team Spirit's going to ban the Dazzle, which would have been great paired with the Death Prophet because it buys time for her to heal. What a concept. And LGD bans the Bloodseeker. Zeus Bloodseeker has been getting picked in tandem with each other because Bloodseeker's Q allows for increased magical damage, and so you put that on the Zeus, and suddenly he's doing way more magic damage than he already does. I think Bloodseeker would also lane against the Death Prophet alright. It might be a little rough, but... They ban the Puck. Death Prophet's going offlane. Strongest mid hero in the game, so they ban it. They end up banning the Phoenix. there's still an opportunity for a 5 Phoenix or a 4 Phoenix, and the Sunray would be really good against both Death Prophet and Earthshaker. Also, neither hero really hits Egg. They ban the Chin, basically the budget Chin, the Enchantress. They ban the Enchantress, basically the budget Chin. Really strong laner, really good sort of healing sustain.
LGD's turn
Not
to
as good as
bat.
Chen, but
5
still very good.
seconds remain.
Also, Enchantress scales a lot better than Chen. You start, like, pumping out impetus toward the late game. We were seeing OG starting to build Orchid and Dragonlance, having Seb start to build a lot greedier. It didn't really work that well, but that's what he's doing. Insta-ban the TB, pick up the Bane. Terrorblade's high armor would have been really good against Death Prophet, decent at trading against Bane. Yeah, that's all there is to say about that. Also, Zeus kind of covers it a little bit. With Zeus picked and Puck banned, you start running out of magic damage heroes to pump into a Terrorblade. The only other hero is kind of Leshrac, and that hasn't been touched the tournament at all, so teams really don't believe in picking Leshrac. So. And they pick up the Beastmaster. A lot of tempo. I like that they pick up a collapse hero this early. Beastmaster can lane okay with Zeus. I don't think a Beastmaster tiny lane is like the greatest thing in the world, but I think that is what they end up doing. So, not that bad. I think Bane trades with Beastmaster okay. It takes a lot of resources to like kill a boar, and that kind of feels bad, but... And they pick a Shadow Demon, which is pretty cool. We've seen a little bit of Shadow Demon play in the tournament, and it's looked pretty good. This means that the Shadow Demon is definitely going to be a 5, so either the Zeus or the Tiny is being promoted here. And the Purge is just really good against Death Prophet. Slows her down in a very nice way. I guess you could save people from Fiend's Grip as well, which is cool. And they go back for the Naga Siren now. Probably one of the more baffling picks of the tournament, especially for LGD. Like I said last game, I think their confidence in playing the hero kind of got boosted because of how well Naga was able to recover in the game, and maybe they felt that if you just get a good laning phase across with a strong laning hero like Bane, confident in laning Illusion hero into Beastmaster, and they thought if they could get off to a better start, the game would be easy. And all it was the bad start. Alma had to play catch up for a lot of it. So yeah, I think that's what they're thinking. They're thinking if we just run that same game back but give Naga a better start, then we win. That being said, Shadow Demon's kind of decent against it.
5
And this is something they repeat. They pick heroes that fucking Shadow Demon's awesome against.
PSG.LGD
They ban the Storm. One thing about playing a Zeus Shadow Demon backline, if Zeus is going to be the backline, is that they're super jumpable by heroes like Storm. LGD knows that Team Spirit needs a carry, and Yadaro owned on Monkey King last game, so they banned it. And Team Spirit bans the Brewmaster. Brewmaster has been securing the late game all tournament. Teams have been picking it as a sort of ticking time bomb that when Brewmaster gets Ags Refresher, the game just kind of ends. And it would have been really helpful for LG to have, I think, sort of mentally, knowing that they can go into a late game scenario and not get what happened to them last game. Kind of kite around a little bit outscaled, a little bit outdamaged. Which is what happens to Naga. Naga, when she hits her timing, and then her damage falls off really hard because the other team starts to catch up. LG uses a lot of time to think of this ban. And they banned the Jug. I just want to talk to the Jug really quick. Also, I called this Finn pick, looking at it. What the Jug would do would create a lot of pressure. It would be pretty good against Earthshaker Death Prophet. I mean, it's kind of good no matter what, because you have all the sustain from the healing wards. Silences are pretty bad, but you could usually see the projectile and get a spin off before it happens, unless you're stunned. Jug would have been kind of a yikes pick into Bane, but you could out-tempo the Naga, you could buy a Mjolnir, try to deal with her illusions. Not an impossible matchup, but this is a pick I feel like they could have seen coming. When I was thinking about this last pick, at the Major. I was thinking they might pair it with a hero that Shadow Demon pairs well with, like a Luna or a Dusa, like something you want to make illusions with. But Sven is one of the more classical counters in the game against illusion heroes like Noggin, PL, and Yadoro 1TI with this hero. So I think this game was looking very easy for Team Spirit. You have all this armor to negate Death Prophet harass, Earthshaker harass, Bane harass. You have a Shadow Demon sitting behind you. I thought there was no way Team Spirit would lose this game, and LGD needed to pick something with a lot of control and a lot of tempo to try to help secure team fights. Because that's one thing Team Spirit kind of lacks, is that they lack a lot of team fight. They have a lot of single target abilities, and that's kind of it. I almost thought like a Mars would be good for LGD here. Try to lock people down, allow Death Prophet and Bane and Naga Siren to do their damage. But instead they pick what I think is probably like the second worst pick after the Naga Siren, which is this Timbersaw. It's Faithion's best hero. I think he's amazing at it. But the Shadow Demon Purge just wrecks this hero. You can pretty much always get your Disruption off when he's Timbersawing to cancel the Timbersaw. We saw that multiple times this game. And yeah, it's good against laning against the Sven, but he didn't punish it enough. Sven was able to get his farm anyway, and this game didn't last very long. And we go into our final game. So there's a first pick Viper. Good hero. First pick Puck. LGD has first pick this game. I think Team Spirit was thinking that LGD was realizing that they had a mid Death Prophet, they had a mid Coddle. They were kind of like put into these awkward mid heroes, and that LGD might prioritize their mid lane more going into these next couple games, especially since Toronto Tokyo has been having such a performance these grand finals. LGD bans the Wyvern.
Turn to ban.
10 seconds.
Just does too much. Team Spirit bans a Tiny. They prioritize that first pick Tiny a lot for both themselves and other heroes. LGD picks the Razor, the kind of other broken hero left in the pool. Chin has been ignored, by the way. And there it is. There's a Chin. And they go for a really surprise second pick Queen of Pain. I think this is Toronto Tokyo flexing a little bit. What I was talking about in that second game draft is they found Queen of Pain enabled their side laners by supplying, oodles of damage. Also, don't get linked because you blink away. And this was a super cool pick. I really like this. Good against Queen of Pain because you can get a really good silence on her, roll on top of her, long range initiation into that mid lane. Kind of one of the only ways to gank Quap.
10 seconds. 5 seconds.
PSG.LGD.
They ban the Faceless Void. You have to cover your Razor pick. They ban the Pango. They just been banning a lot. I don't know. They don't want to play against Pango.
10 seconds.
Nothing to say. Plays a good one. So, and they ban the TB. I think they feel like it's hard to harass a TB with a Chin behind it with a Razor. It's so much physical. Razor is like all physical damage, and TB plus a Chin would just be too high of armor to try to harass down. They ban the Dazzle. Good hero. And this is kind of interesting. We saw Yadoro play Morphling early in the tournament, I believe. It has waveform to get distance between Razor and Earth Spirit, but I don't think it's like the greatest. I guess roll is kind of televised, so you can get your strength morph off, but the silence is good. So I don't particularly understand that Morphling pick. It kind of works on like the same logic that TB does, where like Morph plus Chen is like too much armor, but I don't know. I didn't love that ban.
Team Spirit's turn to pick.
They ban the Enchantress, budget Chen, steal creeps and shit. And Team Spirit gets their classic combo they love to run, Rubik plus Chen. Support duo as old as time itself. And they're good at that hero.
10 seconds.
With the Rubik pick, it kind of enables Collapse to pick a melee offlaner, which I think he's way better at than his ranged ones. Although obviously he owned that Viper game, but it's like what he likes playing. Mars's, Magnus's, those sort of heroes. Here's the IO that's been ignored. It was ignored last game too, but here it is picked up. Let's talk about the Kunkka first. So Kunkka is good against Quap mid because he's very tanky. You can cleave, always keep that lane pushed out. One thing Quap is bad about doing is keeping lanes pushed out. The E is kind of a high resource and so you're using a lot of mana to keep your lane pushed out. Kunkka always has X, and so you X, Quap blinks away, you pull her back. Io is kind of a cool pick because there's a lot of mobility that can occur between the Kunkka X, the Io relocate, the Earth Spirit rolls. With the Io, it really enables the Earth Spirit to be able to roll on anyone and have a connection with that Io relocate. I was thinking at this point that this Io Kunkka Earth Spirit deserved to either be Enigma'd or to be Timbersawed. That's what I was thinking. I was like, man, I would be so scared of an Enigma pick, a Necrophos pick, a Timbersaw pick. Even a Phoenix pick seems kind of okay here. But that isn't what Team Spirit goes for. They solve it in a different way, which I think is like a higher risk way. The problem with... Okay, I think Enigma would be good. Phoenix would not be good because you already have your support heroes picked. The problem with Timber and Necro is you'd have 0 lockdown. How would you ever take a fight if you had a Timber or a Necro, you know? You'd have a telekinesis. It just isn't good enough. We'll talk about that later. They go for the Bristleback. This hero just owns. I think what they realized is that like an Earth Spirit just isn't a Tusk or a Marcy, you know? It's a lot weaker of a laner, and so they could get away with sort of like pushing the Razor matchup with a hero like Bristle. You don't really care about getting linked because all you're doing is spamming Qs, right? Like, who gives a fuck? So yeah, they picked this Bristle. It's gonna be paired with a Chen, you know, too much armor, the too much armor strat, and yeah, it owns this game. Isn't what I was thinking, but I think okay. This also denies it from LGD, right? Because like, look at this lineup. LGD would love to fucking pick a Bristle right here and just run at them with Io Bristle. Rum buff, you know. LGD is going to try to ban an offlaner. They need a collapse hero. They're probably going to ban Mars and Enigma. There's the Enigma ban. I thought Enigma would be a perfect pick here. I also thought Timber would be a perfect pick here, but in reflection, like, how do you ever fucking do anything for the Timber? They ban the Beastmaster, so they actually leave the Mars in the pool. What would be the issue with Mars here? I'm actually surprised they didn't pick Mars, because you can spear Io away. Maybe they're just like losing confidence, but we'll talk about that pick in a second. They banned the Beastmaster. I guess whoever they're gonna pick, they don't want to lane against Beastmaster, and also Collapse owned with it last game. It would be another aura. It'd be a lot of tempo. It'd be scary. Team Spirit bans the Monkey King. One of the ways that people have been solving the Bristleback has been with the Monkey King. Similar concept being Ursa run against it, which they also banned, is that all the stacks can add up. And with the Monkey King, you can also kind of kite this Bristleback a little bit. With the ring, and the jumping, and the stun. This pick baffled me. I thought there was a lot of directions they could go in. I guess Chaos Knight is a Silver Edge enjoyer. It does pair well with the Io, and IOCK is, you know, goes back to TI3. But I don't think this hero is good enough to play against this lineup. I think this lineup does way too much for a CK to deal with. And Team Spirit picks one of the most, probably one of the most surprising picks, is this Collapse Axe. He's going to be laning against an IOCK with a Rubik behind him. Rubik is pretty good against IOCK because they're always pretty close together, so you kind of reliably get Fade Bolt off. And I guess technically you could telekinesis someone out of the tether, although that's probably easier said than done. Axe is an interesting pick. It kind of, I think their diagnosis of LG's draft is that they're going to be the ones initiating a lot, so what they needed was counter-initiation. And Axe is counter-initiation. People start clumping up in a team fight, and Axe comes out of nowhere and says, here I am. Let's get a big call. And so they wanted to use Axe as a way to kind of mitigate the ganking pressure of LGD. Axe really struggled in lane this game. I think that's easily the weakest part about the hero is the laning. You get punished a lot. And even this game, Yatoro got kind of bullied out of lane against this Razor Earth Spirit. And so both Mira and Miposhka had to do a lot of work to try to catch their Axe and their Bristleback back into the game. But it was enough. Team Spirit took the series with this game. There was a lot of great calls by Collapse. He played really well once he got out of the laning stage. And Bristleback looked like a really good hero. What I noticed throughout this tournament, and especially throughout the series, is that the carry-to-carry matchup was really important, and that there weren't that many good carries in the pool. This patch has been kind of an anti-carry patch. They've been focusing a lot more on having these sort of mid-game, high-farm offlaners, and if you have a high-farm offlaner, you also can't have a super greedy one position, so you have these sort of like semi-carries. And some semi-carries were just way better than others. Like the Bristleback, like the Juggernaut, like the Alchemist. Alchemist is like greedy, but he gets online so fast it doesn't matter. So yeah, I thought that the CK just wasn't a good enough carry-to-carry matchup against the Bristleback. I thought the same thing with the Naga into the Naga Siren into Monkey King. I thought the same thing about the Naga Siren into Sven. And I thought the same thing first game with the PL into Pudge. It seemed like whoever won the game had the better carry. The way teams try to remedy this was with a hero like Brewmaster or Razor can kind of be the same way, where it's like, okay, your carry-to-carry matchup is whatever, but suddenly Ags Refresher Brew or BKB Refresher Razor shows up, and suddenly there's a second carry out of nowhere that you didn't expect. But it wasn't enough this game. Team Spirit took this one and the series. And yeah, those are my thoughts on the draft. I had a great time at the tournament. Thought they were really good games, really close games. LGD got a little overconfident in how they thought that Naga went, and they tried to build a draft around it, I think, and it didn't work out. So